Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Monday, the 17th of July. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Joshua Barry. How are we doing, Joshua?
I'm good. I'm muting myself when I'm not talking, Derek, because there's a car alarm going off outside my flat that I have no control over. So.
I hope it's not yours.
Well, I've checked that and it's not. So
well, that's good.
Yeah, but not ideal. But maybe we'll just have to chime in with a few more Alan McGregor hot takes today.
Yeah, if you're watching us, folks, and it's your car outside that the alarm's going off, then please go and sort it out because we can hear it in the background. But we'll soldier on regardless. Well done to everyone, incidentally, who got the prediction time spot on when we would go live. Bang on time once again. Broxy loves the Rangers Review, got it bang on. I think they'll continue to be on time today. Absolutely well done to Jim Simpson. Chris Hutton also got it bang on, as did Charlie and John Nash, a few others as well. So Cyber Pint for each and every one of you. Well done, lads. Right, let's talk Rangers, Joshua. A few things Rangers-wise over the weekend. It has been pretty quiet in terms of the transfer front. Rangers, of course, were in Germany on their pre-season training camp, and they rounded that off with a 2-0 win over the Bundesliga 3 outfit, Hallischer FC. Hopefully that's how you pronounce that at their training camp. A goal from Abdallah Sima. We're going to discuss him shortly. Fantastic header from him. And a James Tavernier penalty. No Rangers match would be complete without a Tav penalty, of course. But yeah, Rangers rounding off that training camp with a 2-0 win before, of course, taking on Newcastle United tomorrow night in Alan McGregor's testimonial. We'll discuss that also shortly. But Abdallah Sima, Joshua, I see you put a tweet out at the weekend with regards to his heading ability. It was a good header, albeit we know it's just a pre-season friendly. It's all about getting fitness and match sharpness. But that could be something that could be a weapon for Rangers next season. I know that Michael Beale has brought in a number of tall players as summer acquisitions. Abdallah Sima is also one, but he's fairly useful in the air as well.
Yeah, he is. And obviously, with Antonio Colak's departure confirmed at the weekend, Derek, I had a long piece out on Saturday, kind of looking at the striker situation, why the obviously the move for Colak, but also the rumoured move and the interest in Sakala, why that makes sense. And on the topic of not only upgrading quality in the forward positions, but also the profile of player. If you look at what Beale's done so far, it's no coincidence. I think that the front three, the front four is kind of the area where he's spent the most money and time and certainly numbers bringing them into the club, because so often I think that was where he was let down. I know in a couple of Old Firm games last season, it was mistakes at one end, but I wrote at the weekend, I think those games were decided by mistakes at one end, but very much defined by Rangers' kind of lack of anything up top, whether it be a threat in transition, whether it be someone who was just going to be really lively in the box and get them a goal out of nothing. And if you look at the players that he's brought into that front two, front three so far, they have a real mix of profiles. And I think Sima's one that's kind of gone under the radar so far. We're going to have a piece on him this week in a members video, kind of looking specifically at his skill set, because obviously he's from a profile point of view, 22, kind of exploded onto the scene that year with Slavia and the Europa League, and then signed by Brighton for a substantial amount of money. Different the last couple of years, obviously spent last season after injuries the season before on loan in the Championship. Last season he was in France, kind of battling out at the bottom of the league. But for Beale, what I think he gives you is there's similarities to Sakala because he's a threat in transition, and I think you saw that. Obviously, we only saw the highlights package from that friendly game, Derek. But you could see his ability to just run over the top and really stretch the game. I think there's an interesting distinction to be made between how effective pace can be when you're facing teams that are playing deep in the pitch. And actually, I think Sakala demonstrated that quite well on the last day of the season. But someone like Sima, I think it's easy that the connotations of pace is that it won't be effective, but it's how you use it. He looks like someone who really in transition could be an effective runner. That's a car alarm finally stopped.
Yes, fantastic, because we're getting a few comments in there, Joshua. Says, anyone else hear a car alarm? And Donald Duck says, that car alarm is driving me mental, but it is now off, so celebration time all round.
Yeah, we won't hold our breath. So I think there'll be two main ways that he fits into the team, Derek. His heading ability, you're right to mention there, is something that's going to stand out from set pieces as well. We know how strong Rangers were at set pieces after Beale arrived last season. Sima, I think, will fit in really nicely into that kind of dual front two striking partnership from the right. I think he's not really a kind of back to goal player, and he will have his fair share of frustrating moments, and he's not going to link play, I think, or coordinate it with his back to goal. Better at starting on the right side and arriving and making those vertical runs. But then as well, I think if you do start him up top, whether that be in Europe, it gives you a completely different problem, because not only is he quick and probably stops teams from going man for man and keeps their two centre backs around him, because he's got that threat to outrun you. But he's also just really strong and physical. And again, in that small highlights package you saw in the lead up to his goal, I think it's the defender's set to get a free header, and he just puts him off, just this kind of sheer presence, and that allows Rangers to continue the move. So small details, but you're looking at someone who's 22, and when Beale was speaking about him, he did conclude it by mentioning his size. I don't think it's any coincidence. You look all around Rangers' team and the players that they've brought in this summer, and they're athletes, obviously, as well as being really good football players, and that's important, I think, for them to be able to punch upwards in Europe. And if you look at Gerrard's time in Europe, that Slavia game was one that kind of, I think, defined the somewhat lack of maybe physicality that Rangers had compared to the team that put them out. And the transfer business this summer, I think, probably has that in mind, because the profile of player, Sima definitely being one, as well as being very good footballers, also going to be able to allow you to punch upwards and kind of compete with the best teams in Europe from an athletic standpoint.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Sima in action in a Rangers jersey for real. I think he's going to be a real asset. And I think he plays off that right-hand side, doesn't he, Josh? I don't think he's necessarily someone who will lead the line, but as part of a two, it's like he'll likes to play at times. And over on the right-hand side, he can drift out there. I think he's going to be a real asset.
I think he'll lead the line when games where it's it's about turning the defence, and maybe Rangers don't have as much of the ball. And although he's not, I don't think he's going to be, his hold-up play is going to be his finest asset. As mentioned, he's going to make it really, really difficult for the centre-backs. And if you watch back the games for that Rangers-Slavia game, you see that, especially in the game at Ibrox, where he's right up against Connor Goldson and Leon Balogun. Rangers don't play with a right winger, but Sima is comfortable off that side, as you mentioned, and he's very much a wide attacker as opposed to a winger. And telling, I think, that when you see his Rangers TV interviews asked, do you prefer to score or assist? And he says score. That's the profile of player he is. He's another player that's kind of in that wide number 9 profile. He's another player that really fits Michael Beale's desire to play with 2 goal scorers in the pitch. And again, I've got his quote in front of me from the piece at the weekend, that if you look at the profile of players that Beale has in that front 2, front 3, you've got Lammers, you've got Dessers, you've got Sima, obviously Danilo really strongly linked. That's 4 very different players, but they're all able to do more than one thing. And linking it back to Antonio Colak, I think that's the important part. Lammers said when he was signed that the manager loves attackers who can switch positions, don't stay in the same position all the time. If you play attacking football and have lots of possession, the position doesn't really matter. So Beale wants to give his players, I guess, positional freedom and enable them, like Sakala did last season. And maybe we could talk a bit about whether Sima's going to replace him in the squad or how that could look. But players that do more than one thing beyond just scoring goals, their ability to link play, their ability to help out deeper in the pitch. And in a different way, I think Sima gives you those different options. And really exciting profile at only 22 years old.
Yeah, just on Sakala, of course, he was linked with a move to Saudi Arabia last week. A source close to him did tell me that it was just rumour. And there was nothing concrete with regards to that, with regards to fashion. But just off the back of that, Ian Thompson says, it may not be the popular opinion, but I'm glad we look like we are hanging on to Sakala. Thoughts, he says. I think I'm perfectly happy if Fashion Sakala is part of the squad next season, Joshua, unless Rangers do get an offer that is attractive. I'm thinking £4 million plus. If they get something like that, then it has to be a fee that the board have to think about, a player that they brought in for nothing. But in terms of his output and what you get from him, I know he's rash, he's raw at times. but he provides numbers and goals and assists in terms of the minutes on the park, and he can contribute next season. So I wouldn't necessarily be chasing him out the door.
Yeah, I guess it comes into where he'd contribute and what the kind of cause and effect is. For example, if you could sell Colak and Sakala and use that money to reinvest in someone like Danilo, then with that four mentioned, Dessers, Lammers, Sima, and Danilo as it would be, do they give you a better all-round balance? Sakala, I think it was 17 goal contributions and 19 starts under Bale in the league. So you can't really deny that you've got good numbers. As well as that, if you look at his radar, which is in that piece from the weekend, he's not only got really impressive, expected goals touching us in the opposition box, but he's also creating a lot for his teammates. I think it was 6 assists to 11 goals. Maybe 7 to 10 in that 17 goal involvements mentioned. He's creating for his teammates as well. And that's that dual threat, right? Because he can be a goal threat and he can score from wide, but he can also create from out wide as well. Think of that game away at Hibs or Motherwell, those games where he does nothing in the first half and then suddenly pops up with a header right after the break. So I think as a squad option, Sakala it is fine. I guess what you have to consider is, from Colak's point of view, I think it's about suitability. And although he does have those impressive numbers, I don't think he's going to thrive in that system where, to go back to that quote, it's about players switching positions and having positional freedom. And he was signed to do a very different role. He was signed to be a box occupier under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst and get on the end of crosses and not really move out of that area. That's very different to what Beale's doing now. I guess the question with Sakala is, how much is he going to play? And can you get a better option for £4 million? And again, in this piece, I kind of speak about the fact that his numbers look really good, but then the eye test is important to consider here as well, because can you rely on him in the big moments? And those 2 games at Hampden come to mind as well. And what I've liked about the transfer market so far is that I think Rangers have been quite aggressive and not shy in trying to upgrade in certain areas. Beale's made big decisions, whether that be with not offering certain contracts or making big changes in areas like, I think, the goalkeeping department where it was necessary. If there was the option to get a more suited player in for that sort of money, would that be a better move? Because although Sima's not, I don't think he's going to give you that same kind of maybe not technical ball carrying, but Sakala can pick the ball up off the left, drive past his man in a way that others in the team probably can't. I think Sima's better coming off the right, and as mentioned, I think he's more reliant on his movement to score goals than necessarily his ball carrying. But the transitional threat that he gives you in the final third, does that replace something what Sakala would give you in European competition or away from home? So these are all the spinning plates, and you've got to consider as well. We've mentioned those 4 players. If you were to include Danilo or another number 9, you've also got Kemar Roof, who I know we're not going to maybe rely on him for minutes in this discussion. But if you've got 6 options up there and you include Sakala really for 2 positions, and then the position behind that, as we mention every single day, is really busy with Lammers and Cantwell and Dowell and Lawrence and Hadji and Lowry, you've got to balance it up as well, because I'm sure, as with any club at the moment, it's also about outgoings to ensure that the ingoings can come in. So a bit of a spinning plate. Colak, someone who could have scored goals, but how much is he going to play? What's the benefit of letting him go to get that money? And ultimately, my opinion would be on to group them together. If you can get an upgrade for that type of money, free up a bit of a position and maybe have a bit of money left over for another position as well, then that might be a good decision, because Beale obviously needs real quality at the top end of the pitch and dependable quality to take him where he wants to get to.
Yes, most definitely. Before we go to some of the comments, there's a host of them I want to get to. Just a reminder, folks, we have the Rangers Review live on Friday, the 28th of July at New Edmonton House. The first time we take the show on the road, if you like, and no bigger venue than Edmonton House. Cannot wait for that one. There are still some tickets remaining, I'm told. It'll be myself, Joshua, Johnny, Stevie, and Barry Ferguson is joining us as well for what should be an absolutely cracking night. We'll have a host of prizes to give away as well. Really looking forward to meeting many of you there on Friday, the 28th of July. Tickets, £21.50. That includes the booking fee as well. So make sure you get your tickets. As ever, the link for said tickets is in the description box, so do go and click that if you can make it along. It'd be absolutely fantastic to see you all there. Right, let's get to a few comments that are coming in just now. Just on Antonio Colak, Gail Morrison says, morning lads, sorry to see Tony Goals go, carried himself well as a Gers player. Hopefully Danilo in the door this week. Just on Danilo, Joshua, of course, he's someone that the Rangers fans are excited about the prospect of seeing in a Rangers jersey. I actually spoke to someone that's watched him in the Eredivisie, and he says he's not suited to Scottish football. He says he doesn't see him doing well there. That's one thing you need to factor in, I guess. I mean, playing in the Eredivisie is a lot different than playing in Scottish football. We all know he's a Brazilian. People often, including myself, think Brazilian means you're automatically the original Ronaldo or someone the equivalent, someone that's especially strikers. We know that the Brazilians are historically absolutely fantastic in front of goal, but this is one thing about the players being brought in from far-flung places. You have to adapt to Scottish football, which isn't necessarily easy. We've seen good players come and struggle in what is a quite unique league. They'll have to contend with the climate, with plastic pitches, of course, with playing teams 4 times a season and teams that are just camped into their box and are playing for a draw. So all these little nuances that the players like Lammers, Sima, Dessers, of course, it's coming from abroad as well, will have to factor in when they come to Rangers. So it's not necessarily plain sailing sometimes when you sign players and expect them to hit the ground running. So they have to factor that in, I guess.
Yeah, obviously it's not cut and dry, and Scottish football is unique, but it's still football, isn't it? And I think one of the things that Beale has stood out for me watching Beale's teams, maybe even compared to Gerrard's teams, especially away from home. I think of Tynecastle or even Batodry or Easter Roads. I think what he's done well so far is he's kind of not fallen foul, but you go away to these games and the narrative always is it's a battle and you have to win the battle first. And there's an element of that is true about Scottish football, but I think there's an element of that also is kind of wildly overrated sometimes. It can stop you from playing football because it's still 11 versus 11, obviously on grass. And you look at someone like Todd Cantwell, and I think this similar kind of things were said about him. Is he going to be able to adapt, etc., etc., etc.? You know, you say that you have to adapt to breaking teams down, but I'm sure for someone like Campbell, he'd much rather have the ball and trying to do that for 90 minutes as opposed to playing against the ball and maybe only getting the ball a few times. Lammers has spoken already about the fact that he plays at his best when he's in a possession-based team, and that's why I think he'll suit Rangers well. Again, you look at his season last season in Italy, where he's playing it for a team at the bottom of the league and chasing channel balls the whole time. And so I think it's a balance. I know what you're saying. And obviously there is an element of physicality that you have to contend with. And Scottish football is unique compared to other leagues that people will play in. And Michael Beale spoke about that before. I think that the type of challenge when you go away to a team in Scotland is different to probably most leagues when you think about the type of physicality that still exists in our game compared to maybe other countries around Europe. But in response to that, if you do have a lot of the ball, I think that Lammers example and Campbell probably shows why that can be a positive. And although you have to bear that in mind and have a big, strong team to a degree, and we've already spoken about the profile of players that Beale signed this summer and how, you know, Dessers and Sima off the top of my head, players who I think are going to give you that real strong physical element at the top end of the pitch. You've seen someone in Cantwell and Raskin who aren't too big imposing players come in and really thrive as well. So for me, I'd always edge more on the side that it's still a football game and you always prioritise getting the best players that will give you the best chance of winning, even in Scottish football, if it can be a bit archaic at times.
Yeah, I just wanted to get your opinion as well. News that broke over the weekend, and we touched on them just earlier. Borna Barisic, of course, reports suggesting that Nottingham Forest might be keen on signing him. Of course, Ross Wilson down there is sporting director. Francis says, any truth in the Nottingham Forest rumours linking Borna to them? I've seen this on social media over the weekend, Joshua. I'll try and firm it up, of course. He's in the last year of his contract, Borna. I think if Rangers were to offload him in terms of fee, I don't think you're going to be bringing in much, maybe $1.5 million, perhaps $2 million at a push, I'd imagine. But I'd be a bit. I know that Dujon Sterling can play left back. Would that make you comfortable about possibly offloading Borna, knowing that you have Ridvan there as well?
I guess it depends on the type of fee you'd be talking about, because you don't want to lose players for free, even if it is a small fee the kind of year before they go. And Barisic is someone that's been here for a number of years. Don't think he's going to be first choice. Still think he has value, and his delivery has value against certain levels of opponents. But I think, again, the style of football probably that Rangers are playing now, a lot less, hopefully, cross-dominant last season than when he first arrived. Sterling, you're right, he can play left back, and we spoke about this last week, didn't we? The kind of benefits of having a two-footed left back and right back. You've also got Adam Devine in there, so whether Beale just looks at that being a 4 players across the 2 full-back positions that can provide cover, with potentially someone else coming in the centre-back position that can cover across at full-back. And I think probably similar to the Colak situation, it'll all depend on what the player wants as well at this stage in his career. If Borna Barisic was able to go and play in the Premier League at 29, when he's done a number of years at Ibrox and he knows that he's not going to be first choice, maybe that would be more appealing to him, and that probably plays a big factor in the decision as well. I think he's out of contract next summer, isn't he? So he'd be available to talk to clubs for free in January anyway. And yeah, Beale's made put a big emphasis, I think, on refreshing the squad this summer. So maybe that'll extend to that position as well. Having 4 players in across those 2 positions is probably enough, and Sterling is strong enough on his left foot. It's not as if you're just playing a right back over on that side. And you have to look practically. We've got a piece on the website this week coming about Sterling's minutes, but James Tavernier plays quite a lot of the minutes for Rangers, doesn't he? And that'll have to change at some point. But we've probably said that for the last 2 seasons, and I don't think you can rely on, say, Rangers play 50, 55, 60 games this season, maybe 50. I don't think you can rely on that being split down the middle with Sterling and Tavernier. Sterling will want to play games. So then if you go and sign a backup left back, or you have Barisic there behind Ridvan, does Sterling get any football in the left back area? And then you're looking at where his minutes actually come from. So again, I guess it's beyond the actual left back starting spot that you've got to consider when you maybe look at an offer like that, if it's true.
Yeah, one to keep an eye on, I'd imagine. Let's get to a few comments. More comments. There's so many coming in. I'm struggling to get to a few of them. I do apologise if I don't get to yours, folks. Damo First says, why won't it let me gift memberships? Does YouTube limit you? No idea, buddy. Johnny, I think, is your man for that one. Thanks very much for your kind-heartedness, incidentally, but I'm not entirely sure what the script is with regards to that one. Let's talk about the game tomorrow night, Joshua, because of course Rangers back at Ibrox. Cannot wait for that one. Newcastle United are the opponents for Alan McGregor's testimonial. It's sure to be an absolutely cracking affair at Ibrox. Let's get to a few of the comments that are coming in. First of all, Snecky Bear says, are you guys going to attempt a team for tomorrow night? We are. There'll be a predicted lineups from myself and Joshua. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. It will be interesting to see what the team will be tomorrow night, Joshua. And Jamie Ralston says, can we expect McGregor to play tomorrow night or just come out at halftime? He will be playing. There is no doubt about that, Joshua.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Now, I do wonder if he'll maybe start and come off, or come on and then come off. I don't know. Because the thing is, although this is a testimonial, I'm sure that Beale and his team will want to start their pre-season against one of the best teams in the Premier League last season, who've already spent, sizable funds on one player alone in this transfer window. So they'll want to put on a good account of themselves as well. So I would imagine that in a similar way to what it looked like in the Germany friendly, it's going to be one half of one team and one half of another almost. Again, we saw that in the highlights package. Yeah, but you'd imagine you probably start with, I don't know if you start with a stronger team or you try and balance out between the two. My guess would be that you're going to go with more of a starting 11 from the start, because you want to build up a bit of consistency and build those relationships. But McGregor will definitely be playing, and I think inevitably, although this is the start of pre-season, this night deservedly so, and obviously is going to be all about him and his kind of goodbye that he had obviously towards the end of last season, but obviously he's absolutely merited a night like this, which he'll definitely be playing. And I don't imagine he'd be happy if he didn't get any minutes.
Yeah, incidentally, Rangers have released some supporter information with regards to the game over the weekend as well. 8,000 Newcastle fans heading up as well. Of course, we'll have the trial singing section in the Copeland Road end as well, which should be quite intriguing to see how that gets on. I'm really excited about seeing that. Rangers have urged fans, incidentally, to familiarise themselves with the turnstile system and ensure they arrive at turnstiles with mobile QR codes or barcoded tickets ready to ensure a smooth and fast entry to the stadium. Of course, we're honouring Alan McGregor, and they're encouraging people to turn up in plenty of time. And they've also urged season ticket holders to check their purchase history to ensure that their smart cards are active for the game. Seat movers are encouraged to ensure they have their QR codes at the ready as well. So just a bit of information there from Rangers ahead of the game. So cannot wait for that one back. It feels like the football is gearing up for the big comeback, of course. Neil McLean can't wait for it. He says, "Morning, guys. Took a 3-day holiday for the game tomorrow. I can't wait." You and me both. Well, I've not taken a holiday, Neil, but cannot wait for that game. And a nice comment here from Day in the Life. It says, "Remember, if you're teddy bears, not become a member, go for it. It's well worth it. We are the people," he says. Yeah, if you've not joined us and become a member of the YouTube channel, I'll just give you a brief outline of what it is. You get 3 to 5 extra videos per week. Over 300 of you have now signed up to become members, so thank you for your support. £2.99 a month to become a YouTube member, and you also can watch this video. If you don't watch this live, you can watch it later on in the day or whenever you catch up, and it will be ad-free as well. So lots to take advantage of with regards to that. There will be a few members videos this week, won't there, Joshua? Looking forward.
Always about 3 to 5 they're normally. So we're going to look at Sima, kind of a detailed look at him. And if you don't like reading the long articles, I'll have screen grabs and stats and a bit of more explanation as well. Going to look at him. We'll be looking back at the game. We'll be doing that after every game this season. And then obviously all the big talking points as well. We spoke about the cinch dispute. So if you want a detailed look at that, then go and watch the last members video, because Johnny explains it far better than I will on Friday, and amongst plenty of other things. So yeah, lots and lots of content as ever to come your way.
Yeah, and Glasgow Rangers Nation is feeling very confident ahead of the game tomorrow. He's going for a 5-0 win over Newcastle United. There will be good opposition, Joshua. They're a top side. Of course, they'll be playing in the Champions League next season. Eddie Howe's got them motoring along nicely. So like you said, it's I know it's the testimonial affair, and we are paying tribute to one of the, if not the greatest Rangers goalkeeper of all time. But Michael Beale, knowing him and the Rangers supporters that will be heading along there, will be wanting a victory, won't they?
Yeah, of course. And as you say, it's all about Alan McGregor, but this kicks off 4 pre-season games in a matter of
we've got is it Hamburg at the weekend?
Hamburg, and then Olympiacos, obviously away to Hoffenheim as well. So looking forward to seeing what they've been working on. They've had that week away in Germany, and I think everyone will be excited to see the new signings as well. And that's the benefit of getting new signings in early, because then you get pre-season games that are build up the anticipation ahead of the new season, as opposed to kind of, still having players around who probably aren't going to be here when the real football kicks off. Yeah,
and thanks to Dean Milne, I'm sure you've all been made aware, but the car alarm is back outside Josh's gaff. So I think that's a good time perhaps to wrap it up for today. Just a reminder, we will have predicted teams lineups on the website, so keep your eyes peeled for that, folks, ahead of the game tomorrow. Cannot wait for that. Joshua will be at the game for us, so we'll have all the usual build-up and after-match reaction as well. Cannot wait. Okay, that'll do us there. Thanks to everyone for interacting with the show. We'll be back again tomorrow, but until then, enjoy the rest of your